In a world saturated with sexualized advertising, romantic comedies, dating apps, and constant reminders that sex sells, what does it mean to not feel sexual attraction at all? When most people talk about love, desire, and human connection, sexual attraction is often assumed to be the common thread tying it all together. But for millions of people around the world, that thread simply doesn't exist. This is not a sign of repression, confusion, or trauma. It's something else entirely. It's called asexuality, and it challenges one of society's most fundamental assumptions, that everyone experiences sexual attraction. Welcome to this deep dive into one of the most misunderstood and underrepresented identities in the LGBTQIA+ spectrum, asexuality. In this video, we're stepping away from the noise of societal expectations and into a space of honest exploration to understand what it really means to be asexual, how it differs from celibacy or abstinence, and why being asexual isn't about what you do, but how you experience desire, or more specifically, how you don't. Asexuality isn't a phase. It's not a lack of hormones. It's not a fear of intimacy. And no, it's not something that needs to be fixed. Asexuality is a valid sexual orientation. Just like being gay, straight, bisexual, or pansexual, it reflects an individual's experience of attraction, or in this case, the absence of it. Asexual people, often called aces, live full, rich lives filled with love, purpose, connection, and joy. They simply experience these things differently from what mainstream culture often portrays. For many aces, discovering asexuality is a moment of profound clarity. It's like finding a word for something they've always known but couldn't quite articulate. Imagine spending years questioning what's wrong with you because you don't feel drawn to others in the way your friends, family, or peers do. Imagine being told you're just shy, too picky, or a late bloomer when deep down, you know it's something else. That something is real. That something has a name. And that name is asexuality. But asexuality isn't a monolith. Within the ace community, there's a spectrum, a wide and diverse range of experiences that reflect the complexity of human identity. Some aces are aromantic, meaning they don't feel romantic attraction. Others are panromantic, biromantic, or heteroromantic. They fall in love without ever feeling sexual desire. Some aces enjoy sex, others are repulsed by it. Some are indifferent. The beauty of the ace spectrum is that it reveals how deeply personal and varied human experiences of attraction can be. Today, we'll unpack the nuances, myths, challenges, and truths about asexuality. We'll hear real perspectives, confront misconceptions, and hopefully offer a new lens through which to view identity, not as a list of checkboxes, but as a fluid and deeply individual journey. Asexuality is a valid sexual orientation. Asexuality is one of the most misunderstood and overlooked sexual orientations in today's conversations around identity and inclusion. While society often assumes that sexual attraction is a universal human experience, asexuality challenges that very assumption by affirming that not everyone feels sexually drawn to others. Asexual people, often called aces, may experience little to no sexual attraction across their lives. This absence of sexual attraction is not a symptom of trauma, repression, or dysfunction. It is simply an orientation, just as valid as being heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual. At the heart of this discussion lies the need to redefine our understanding of what constitutes a sexual orientation. Asexuality is not about behavior. Many asexual people date, fall in love, get married, and some even choose to have sex. The key distinction is that their decisions aren't driven by sexual attraction. Instead, they are guided by emotional connection, curiosity, comfort, or a desire for intimacy. Much like being gay doesn't require someone to be in a same-gender relationship to validate their identity, being asexual does not require total abstinence or lifelong celibacy. It is about the internal experience of attraction, or the lack thereof. Unfortunately, asexuality is frequently dismissed or misunderstood. Common myths suggest that asexual people are late bloomers, traumatized, or simply have low libido. These assumptions are not only inaccurate but also damaging. They erase asexual people's experiences and frame their orientation as something to be fixed. This erasure happens even within LGBTQ+ spaces, where sexual attraction is often a foundational concept. As a result, asexual individuals can feel isolated, even among communities that advocate for sexual and gender diversity. Recognizing asexuality as a valid orientation also involves understanding the broader asexual spectrum. Some people identify as gray asexual, meaning they experience sexual attraction rarely or under specific circumstances. Others may identify as demisexual, experiencing sexual attraction only after forming a deep emotional bond. These variations demonstrate that asexuality, like any other identity, exists on a nuanced continuum. It is not a rigid label, but a self-defined experience that honors the diversity of human desire, or its absence. Affirming the legitimacy of asexuality is more than an intellectual exercise, it is a necessary step toward inclusion and respect. When we accept asexuality as valid, we make space for people to express who they are without judgment, shame, or pressure to conform. We challenge the cultural narrative that equates sexual attraction with love, success, or even humanity. We say, clearly and compassionately, that it's okay to be different. And that difference deserves visibility. Asexuality is a valid sexual orientation. Asexuality is one of the most misunderstood and overlooked sexual orientations in today's conversations around identity and inclusion. While society often assumes that sexual attraction is a universal human experience, asexuality challenges that very assumption by affirming that not everyone feels sexually drawn to others. Asexual people, often called aces, may experience little to no sexual attraction across their lives. This absence of sexual attraction is not a symptom of trauma, repression, or dysfunction. It is simply an orientation, just as valid as being heterosexual, homosexual, or bisexual. At the heart of this discussion lies the need to redefine our understanding of what constitutes a sexual orientation. Asexuality is not about behavior. Many asexual people date, fall in love, get married, and some even choose to have sex. The key distinction is that their decisions aren't driven by sexual attraction. Instead, they are guided by emotional connection, curiosity, comfort, or a desire for intimacy. Much like being gay doesn't require someone to be in a same-gender relationship to validate their identity, being asexual does not require total abstinence or lifelong celibacy. It is about the internal experience of attraction, or the lack thereof. Unfortunately, asexuality is frequently dismissed or misunderstood. Common myths suggest that asexual people are late bloomers, traumatized, or simply have low libido. These assumptions are not only inaccurate but also damaging. They erase asexual people's experiences and frame their orientation as something to be fixed. This erasure happens even within LGBTQ+ spaces, where sexual attraction is often a foundational concept. As a result, asexual individuals can feel isolated, even among communities that advocate for sexual and gender diversity. Recognizing asexuality as a valid orientation also involves understanding the broader asexual spectrum. Some people identify as gray asexual, meaning they experience sexual attraction rarely or under specific circumstances. Others may identify as demisexual, experiencing sexual attraction only after forming a deep emotional bond. These variations demonstrate that asexuality, like any other identity, exists on a nuanced continuum. It is not a rigid label, but a self-defined experience that honors the diversity of human desire, or its absence. Affirming the legitimacy of asexuality is more than an intellectual exercise, it is a necessary step toward inclusion and respect. When we accept asexuality as valid, we make space for people to express who they are without judgment, shame, or pressure to conform. We challenge the cultural narrative that equates sexual attraction with love, success, or even humanity. We say, clearly and compassionately, that it's okay to be different. And that difference deserves visibility. The asexual spectrum is diverse. When most people hear the word asexual, they often assume it means a complete and total absence of sexual feelings. While this is true for some, The reality is far more nuanced. Asexuality, like any sexual orientation, exists on a spectrum, broad, rich, and deeply personal. The asexual spectrum, often referred to as the ace spectrum or aspec, includes a wide range of experiences related to sexual attraction, desire, and behavior. Understanding this diversity helps to dismantle the myth that asexuality is a monolithic or emotionless identity. At the core of the ace spectrum are individuals who identify as asexual, meaning they do not experience sexual attraction to others. But even within this group, experiences vary. Some people are sex repulsed and have no interest in sexual activity at all, while others may be sex neutral or even sex positive. Choosing to engage in sexual activity for reasons like intimacy, curiosity, or relationship building, despite lacking sexual attraction. This complexity illustrates that sexual attraction and sexual behavior are not always connected. Then there are gray asexual or gray sexual individuals who sit in the gray area between sexuality and asexuality. These individuals may experience sexual attraction rarely, only under specific circumstances, or with low intensity. Their experiences challenge the binary idea that someone is either fully sexual or fully asexual. For many gray sexual people, navigating identity can be confusing, especially in a world that often doesn't recognize or understand the subtlety of this middle ground. Demisexuality is another identity on the asexual spectrum. Demisexual individuals do not experience sexual attraction unless they form a deep emotional connection with someone. Even then, attraction is not guaranteed. For demisexual people, sexual interest often develops after emotional intimacy, rather than being immediate or based on physical appearance. This orientation highlights the emotional dimension of sexual attraction and disrupts conventional expectations about dating and desire. It's also important to note that people on the asexual spectrum may identify with other romantic orientations. Someone can be asexual and biromantic, meaning they feel romantic attraction toward more than one gender but not sexual attraction. Others may identify as aromantic asexual, experiencing neither sexual nor romantic attraction. These combinations further expand the spectrum and remind us that sexual and romantic attraction are separate experiences. Language on the ace spectrum continues to evolve as more people explore their identities and find the words to describe their experiences. This is a good thing. It means the community is growing, diversifying, and carving out space in a society that has long ignored or misunderstood them. Recognizing the diversity of the asexual spectrum is essential for fostering inclusion and empathy. Asexual people can still desire intimacy or sex. A common misconception about asexuality is that it equates to a total disinterest in all forms of intimacy, especially sex. But asexuality, at its core, is defined by the absence of sexual attraction, not necessarily the absence of sexual desire, behavior, or emotional closeness. This subtle but crucial distinction often gets lost in mainstream conversations, leading to misunderstandings about what it truly means to be asexual. The reality is that many asexual people still crave intimacy, whether emotional, romantic, physical, or even sexual, for reasons that may have little to do with attraction and everything to do with connection, love, and human experience. Intimacy exists in many forms, and for asexual individuals, it can take unique shapes. While some asexual people identify as aromantic and may not seek romantic connections, others are heteroromantic, homoromantic, biromantic, or panromantic, meaning they feel romantic attraction towards certain genders. These romantic inclinations may lead to long-term partnerships, marriage, or deep emotional bonds, even without the presence of sexual attraction. Many ace individuals find great fulfillment in cuddling, hand-holding, kissing, or sharing life goals with a partner, all of which are expressions of intimacy that don't rely on sexual attraction to be meaningful or satisfying. Additionally, it's important to note that some asexual people do engage in sexual activity. This could be for a variety of personal reasons. Some may choose to have sex to please a partner they love and care about, as a way of strengthening their emotional bond. Others may be curious, enjoy the physical sensation, or use sex as a form of self-expression. There are also asexual individuals who masturbate or consume erotica, not because they are sexually attracted to others, but because they experience sexual urges independent of attraction. These behaviors don't make someone not asexual, they highlight the broad and personal spectrum of the ace experience. The asexual umbrella also includes people who identify as gray asexual or demisexual. Gray asexuals may experience sexual attraction very rarely or under specific circumstances. Demisexual individuals typically only feel sexual attraction after forming a deep emotional bond with someone. Both identities further illustrate that being asexual doesn't mean being completely disconnected from sex or sexual behavior. It means that attraction works differently on different terms, and often within a framework of personal comfort and consent. Understanding this helps dismantle the myth that asexual people are cold, distant, or uninterested in connection. Many asexual individuals are incredibly affectionate, emotionally intelligent, and deeply committed partners. Their capacity for love and intimacy isn't diminished by their lack of sexual attraction. Rather, it invites us to broaden our definition of what meaningful connection looks. Misconceptions and erasure are common. In the intricate tapestry of human knowledge and culture, misconceptions and erasure are persistent threads woven throughout history, society, and individual understanding. These phenomena are not merely accidental, they are often the result of complex social, political, and cognitive forces that shape how information is preserved, interpreted, or forgotten. Misconceptions, incorrect beliefs or ideas, and erasure, the systematic exclusion or obliteration of facts, identities, or histories, are common, and their consequences ripple far beyond mere inaccuracies. One of the fundamental reasons misconceptions are so prevalent is cognitive bias. Humans naturally seek patterns and explanations, but these mental shortcuts can lead to oversimplified or erroneous conclusions. Confirmation bias, for example, causes people to favor information that supports their pre-existing beliefs while ignoring contradictory evidence. Over time, such biases solidify into misconceptions that spread widely through social groups, media, and education systems. Consider how common myths, like the notion that humans only use 10% of their brains or that vaccines cause autism, persist despite overwhelming scientific evidence disproving them. These misconceptions endure because they appeal to intuitive thinking or emotional fears, showing how human psychology is fertile ground for error. Parallel to misconceptions is the issue of erasure, which often operates on a societal or institutional level. Erasure can be accidental, like the loss of historical records due to poor preservation, but more frequently, it is intentional. Groups in power may suppress or rewrite histories to maintain dominance, erase inconvenient truths, or marginalize certain identities. For instance, numerous indigenous cultures worldwide have faced erasure through colonization, where their languages, traditions, and histories were deliberately disregarded or destroyed. In academic disciplines like history or literature, the voices of women, minorities, and colonized peoples have frequently been omitted or minimized, resulting in a skewed and incomplete understanding of the past. Misconceptions and erasure are intertwined in dangerous ways. When certain perspectives or facts are erased, misconceptions about those erased groups or events can flourish unchallenged. The lack of representation or acknowledgement creates a vacuum where stereotypes and false narratives grow. For example, the erasure of Black contributions to science, art, and culture has fueled misconceptions about intellectual capacity and achievement in racialized terms. Similarly, the erasure of queer histories has perpetuated misunderstandings and prejudice about LGBTQ+ identities. However, recognizing that misconceptions and erasure are common also opens a path to rectification and empowerment. Awareness of these issues encourages critical thinking, prompting individuals to question inherited knowledge and seek. Now that we've peeled back the layers and taken a closer look inside asexuality, one thing becomes strikingly clear: there is no single way to be ace. Just as there is no single way to be human. Asexuality, like all sexual orientations, exists on a spectrum. For some, It means a complete absence of sexual attraction. For others, it may involve rare or conditional forms of attraction, such as those found within demisexuality or gray asexuality. And for some, it includes a mix of complex, evolving feelings that don't always fit neatly into labels, and that's okay. What unites all aces is not a rigid rulebook, but a shared understanding that their experience is real, valid, and worthy of respect. Unfortunately, society isn't always quick to accept things it doesn't understand. Many asexual people face skepticism or dismissal when they come out. Some are pressured to just try it as if their orientation is a problem to be corrected. Others are pitted, fetishized, or erased entirely from discussions about sexuality and identity. This erasure isn't just about media representation, it's also about emotional invisibility. When the world tells you that your experience doesn't count, it becomes harder to feel seen. But slowly, that's changing. More ace voices are speaking up. More books, films, and online communities are telling ace stories with honesty and nuance. More allies are listening, amplifying, and learning. And more people, young and old alike, are finding the word asexual and breathing a sigh of relief, realizing they are not broken. They are not alone. Being asexual doesn't mean living a life without love, intimacy, or connection. It just means experiencing those things in ways that don't hinge on sexual attraction. It means building relationships rooted in trust, affection, shared meaning, and deep companionship. It means rewriting the scripts that society hands us and creating a life that feels authentic. On our own terms. And isn't that what all of us want in the end? A life that reflects who we truly are? If you're watching this and recognize yourself in any part of this video, know this. Your identity is valid. You don't need to prove your experience to anyone. You don't have to meet someone else's expectations to feel complete. Whether you're out and proud, quietly questioning, or somewhere in between, there's space for you here. And if you're someone who isn't asexual but wants to be an ally, thank you. Thank you for caring enough to understand. Visibility begins with listening, and support begins with empathy. As we close this video, remember that asexuality is not about what's missing, it's about what is. It's about authenticity, self-awareness, and the courage to be different in a world that often prizes conformity. It's about knowing yourself, even when others don't quite understand. And it's about recognizing that attraction, or the lack of it, is just one part of the vast, beautiful mosaic that makes up who we are. So share this video,